And now, time to get in the huddle with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on the Mad Steel Podcast.
Hey, you blink, gotta cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. Let's go.
You can rush the quarterback. You understand? Rush the quarterback.
Do you have room in the trophy for another one there? You got 6 of them now. You're the winningest franchise in NFL history.
Won't make room.
And welcome back, everybody, to this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. With yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey. And I'm sure a lot of you have been wondering where I have been at the last week. I've been taking it easy a little bit last week, just chillaxing a little bit. Had to deal with a few priorities. But other than that, I am back right here and get ready to get into it, talking Steelers here on the Mass Steel Podcast. Once again, you guys could always catch me every Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, coming to you here live from Chicago, Illinois. As we continue the social distance, right now we got some encouraging news. This seems to be stealing the headlines of the day. Ben Roethlisberger actually throwing with teammates, more in particular, JuJu Smith-Schuster and James Conner. And plus, here he's also got a beard trim. We'll get into that a little bit later on. And later on, throughout the show, in the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to give you my breakdown of the 2020 schedule. Should everything start on time, I'm going to give you my win-loss predictions for the year. Plus, we also got one topic to end on fair or foul. If you guys want to leave me any of your questions, you guys want to call or text into the show, number that you could be reached today, it is 312-209-2232. Again, that is 312-209-2232. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey, at Mass Steel Nation, at OnDeckCSR for Twitter for the Mass Steel Podcast. It is at Mass Steel CJR. You can also check out my YouTube channel, which is Mass Steel Podcast. And you can also find me on Anchor and Spotify, along with Mixcloud. Mixcloud, you can search me, Charles Prodigy Richey. And, of course, Anchor and Spotify, Crunch Time with Charles Prodigy Richey. Got a lot to get into right now as we are getting ready to see what else is in store here for this Monday. Hope everyone had a great week and also had a good Mother's Day weekend the prior weekend. And we'll see what happens here throughout this course. As there's some good news right here. At least see Ben throwing right now. And as everyone remembers, if you go like on his Twitter account on social media, which you can find at _Big Ben 7, he may have vowed before he had the elbow surgery that he wasn't be trimming his beard until he proves he could at least throw a football to one of his teammates. So far, he seems like he's been doing okay right now. As we are aware, for those of you who may have missed out, I'm sure a lot of people's hearts been racing, but the teammates he was practicing with was JuJu Smith-Schuster, wide receiver, and running back James Conner. So far, we only seen a pass to JuJu, and we'll see how that's going to be. You got to feel like JuJu Smith-Schuster, more in particular, along with James Conner, not really surprising to see those two practice with him, as they have got a lot to prove this year, as it'll be a contract year for both of them going to this season, as they are at the end of their rookie deals. And you got to believe right now they're trying to do everything they can to make sure they deliver on this season. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's going to be real interesting to see what the Steelers and the front office thinks about them for being in the fold going forward in the season. Plus, I also want to get into a little bit later on, too. We also had some comments here from James Harrison, who was actually on a podcast show not too long ago. I think it was like on May 7th. Finally, I heard it in the headlines. Uh, what did he mean by receiving an envelope from Mike Tomlin back in 2010 when he had that hit on Mass Squad? Remember, this was right before the concussion rule started getting hammered down, right around the team where the NFL was trying to transition from the old NFL to the new NFL to make it the more safer league. Found some interesting comments on there about his perception of Mike Tomlin and his career as a Steeler during that time. And he definitely seemed like a guy who had little or no regret. I will say this after hearing the comments by James, it was just definitely a head scratcher why this would be brought up now. And now that, too, I mean, for what reason? I mean, at this point, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's on there with one of his guys in Willie Colon. And I just really feel like right now, I mean, it was just kind of like a little bit unwise at the same time when you think about what's happening here. And I just find it right now. I mean, James Harrison was a guy who definitely wants some straight up answers from Tomlin when he was here towards the end of his career, especially when he got brought back in 2014. I mean, a lot of people viewed it as like he was being unprofessional in a way. I mean, pretty much trying to do whatever he can to get himself off the team if he was not going to be fairly utilized. I mean, he made some references were like at one point back, I think like around '07 when Lawrence Timmons was drafted, he had to be splitting reps with like Lawrence Timmons, and there was like a little bit of frustration. Obviously, I mean, his partner in crime, his right hand man, Dick LeBeau, who was like a father to a lot of people on that squad. And I just really found a lot of stuff interesting, what was happening and what was said on here. I mean, I just feel right now when you look at it, don't get me wrong, I just feel like in a way it was a controversial look in many ways by this. But I do believe too, I don't think it's the way it was a controversial look in many ways by this. But I do believe too, I don't think it's really much beef at all with the Steelers. I do believe right now what happened was he was saying what he was saying. I mean, he was going back down memory lane, of course, and you just saw what happened. And a lot of people definitely argue that, are you trying to insinuate that this was Bountygate? He actually clarified a lot of people on his Twitter account back after the comments were made and all that stuff. And I just really, just like I said, I think just the wording. I mean, the way he was saying it, I don't think he was trying to mean any harm. But when you say envelope, what the hell do you think is going to be an envelope? I mean, in my opinion, right now, I mean, with everything that has transpired here, I mean, I just don't get it. Why bring it up? Was this to get attention? I mean, all that stuff. I mean, with talking to former teammates here, and I know I just thought it was just kind of like a little bit of a interesting look to say the least, and just why bring it up? Why even put that hint of doubt that Tomlin was this guy here trying to insinuate that they were trying to get paid for hitting players, which I don't think was the case. But actually, as a matter of fact, right now, we actually got one of the clips right now, and here's what he had to say as regards to his relationship with Mike Tomlin, if there was any grudge held. I want you guys to take a listen and let me know what you think. Here we go.
So, do you still hold a grudge to Mike Tomlin to this day?
I don't hold like a grudge. You know what I'm saying? I've seen him. I talked to him, but yeah, I've seen him and I talked to him. But my thing is this: as a man, you should have been man enough. Because you always say that don't ask hard questions unless you want hard answers. Well, I was asking hard questions. I was trying to get you to give me that hard answer, but you wanted to wait until I was 16 games deep into the season. to do that, and then probably thinking nobody would pick me up. And to be honest with you, if he had given me what I wanted week 1, I probably would have never been in the league. Oh, I believe that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Remember, he actually literally was on that team for pretty much like about 95% of that 2017 season, where he was last a Steeler, went on to go over to the Patriots. This was right around after the Christmas holiday or Christmas weekend, as a matter of fact. I think it was like a Saturday evening on the 23rd that year. And obviously, there's just about a lot of friction just being built in. I mean, like I said, he just wanted a straight answer, and he just never feel like he got that. I just wonder when you go on and you talk about it. I mean, he was even talking about like what was the cause for like stuff that disrupted the family culture of the Steelers. And here was his thoughts too, as far as like when he started off, and before things started to go downhill for the Steelers, as far as what they were building up, I guess the disruption of the locker room, the family culture. Here's what Debo had to say on that part.
What starts really changing, I guess, your impression of what the Steeler family and what we grew and what we built is starting to change?
I think it's the emergence of a lot of individuality instead of team, and the acceptance and allowing of that process within that team, or actually, feeding into that.
Whose fault is that?
I think that's a process of what it is, of course, as whoever the head man is, and then what your team, the players, what they project, what they see as acceptable. And at the end of the day, to be honest with you, if the head man is acceptable of it, how can you not be?
And yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, he made an interesting point right there. I mean, when you had like a top superstars right there. I mean, when they're playing at the performance, we had such certain superstars right there, and it became accepted by the team and the head man. Of course, more than likely, I mean, he's referring to Mike Tomlin in that situation. And I think he's definitely insinuating like around the time when you had guys like Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and I just think where you just saw it go like a little bit more of a superstar type team around that time. I mean, the last time, I mean, they were definitely, I think, like very held accountable. I guess you could probably point back as far as like shortly after their last Super Bowl appearance, probably the 2011 season. So I'll say like around 2012 is where you started noticing little by little some of the changes going on. I mean, remember, this is a team that was in transition to more of a better offense, trying to protect Ben Roethlisberger, ensure his safety. And I just feel right now, I mean, that at this point, it was a time right there. It was a culture change, no doubt about it. You had lost some veteran leadership over the years, where it's some James Ferrier, Casey Hampton. I mean, you had a lot of guys who were in there. Joey Porter. I mean, of course, he came back later on as a linebacker coach for the Steelers back, I think, in 2015 or 2016. So you had all that stuff right there happening, but I just tend to feel right now there still seems to be a little bit of disappointment. I'm not saying it's a grudge, but it's interesting how he would let that leak out right there on an interview right there and then bring something up and basically assume that Tomlin was going to take care of guys for laying hits on people. This is not the New Orleans Saints. I don't believe that. But at the same time, you give that impression when you mention the word envelope in there. Either way, it's a red flag, no matter how you look at it, how you go around it. And I just think it was just a little irresponsible on his part. I mean, he just was not the guy right here who I feel right now. I mean, when you look at him, I mean, he is right here looking at it, and I just feel right now what you have to do is look. I mean, James Harrison is a straight up guy. I don't think there's any grudge towards Tomlin necessarily, but at the end of the day, I think he does remembers his loyalty to the Steelers organization. I don't think he's trying to have like a vendetta against him. I just find it interesting why bring it up. I mean, especially like basically around a little over a year and a half ago at this point in time, where he was also like teasing having a little sit down interview with Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown was on the verge of getting released, which actually happened around March. And you just had some stuff, and just some people kind of viewed him as a scapegoat. I mean, in fans' many eyes, not necessarily by the Steelers, but at the same time, was he somewhat in the way and not being supportive towards the end? I just will say that I think some of it got blown out of proportion, but again, James Harrison is just reiterating that he's not referring to like the bounty scandal that was by the New Orleans Saints. You had the front office of the Steelers, like Art Rooney, and I think Colbert denied that there was any such conversation towards James Harrison at that point in time. Even James Harrison said there was no such a conversation for making that hit on Matt Squaw of the Cleveland Browns back in the 2010 season, or last year, by the way, where they were in the Super Bowl, and they were Super Bowl contenders, legit Super Bowl contenders, who should have won their third that year, but didn't. And that's where you look at right now. Again, once again, if you guys want to feel free to shoot me a phone call or send a text for the duration of the show, you could do so by reaching me at the following number. It is 312-209-2232. Again, that is 312-209-2232. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey, at OnDeckCSR for the Men of Steel podcast. On Twitter, it is Men of Steel CJR and Men of Steel Nation for Instagram. As we look at it right now, going forward on here on the Men of Steel podcast for this time. And like I said, I hope everyone is staying safe, enjoying some of this weather. And right now, let's get into right now the 2020 NFL season schedule. And let's begin with it right now. So here's a complete rundown of the season schedule. The Steelers open up in week number 1 on September 14th on the road in East Rutherford, New Jersey. That'll be a Monday night opener against the Giants. This will be the last time the Steelers have visited the Giants in East Rutherford, New Jersey. You have to go back as far as 2012, where they were there, and they beat them in that game. And as of course, I mean, a lot of it will remember that game where you still had Mike Wallace around that time. So that's gonna be a 7:15 p.m. Eastern time, and then that's gonna be on ESPN. So that's gonna be the first half of the doubleheader of Monday Night Football. Then in week number 2, you're gonna have your home opener, back-to-back home games on the 20th and the 27th. That'll be at home against the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans, each at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Then after that, for their 4th game of the year, they'll be going up against they'll be visiting the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. That's a 1 o'clock game. And then your 5th opponent after that will be hosting the Eagles. That game, so those home games will be on CBS. And then you're going to be having also on CBS in Tennessee against the Titans. That's going to be your 5th game of the season. That's on CBS. 6th game of the season will be against the Eagles. That will be on Fox. Then you'll have your 7th game at home against the Browns in Pittsburgh. Your 8th game of the season will be against the Ravens in Baltimore. That is also a 1 o'clock game. Following that, you're going to have your bye weekend coming up. So November 1st will be their bye week. Then November 8th, returning, you're going to be facing the Dallas Cowboys. That'll be the only late afternoon game of the year. That's going to be at 4:25 p.m. on CBS. I'm giving you all the times in Eastern time, just as a reminder, people, for those of you tuning in, we're going over the Steelers' 2020 regular season schedule. Then after that, you'll be at home against the Bengals. This one, surprisingly, will be a flex game, it seems like, and they're going to be on Fox for that game. So that's for your 10th game of the season. And then they'll be traveling to Jacksonville in Week 11. That's a 1 o'clock game on CBS, taking on the Jaguars. Then, of course, you'll be at home less than 4 days later, hosting the Ravens on Thanksgiving. That will be on the 26th. That's an 8:15 p.m. game on NBC. As we look at, so again, for following bye week, will be 9th game will be against the Cowboys. They're going to be in Dallas. Then you'll be at home hosting the Bengals, on the road in Jacksonville, and then hosting the Ravens. And then for the final stretch, they'll be hosting the Redskins. That game will be on Fox for week number 13. Then it'll be on back-to-back road games, on primetime games, beginning with the Buffalo Bills, which will be a Sunday night game at 8:20 p.m. Eastern time in Buffalo. And then week number 15 on the road against the Bengals. There'll be an 8:15 p.m. Monday night game on ESPN. Then last but not least, 16 and 17, they'll be at home against the Colts, 1 p.m. game on CBS. And then last but not least, on the road in Cleveland against the Dog Pound, against the Browns right there. So you're going to be having 4 night games this year, 3 of which will be on the road this season. Again, those night games on the road, we're going to be having the very opening of the week, which will be against the Giants. And then you'll be having against the Bills and Bengals. So you're going to be having 2 Monday night games on the road. And then you're going to be having 1 Sunday night game on the road, with 1 Sunday night game being at home. So 2 Sunday night games, 2 Monday night games. And real interesting schedule right there. As remember, the last time the Steelers have faced the NFC East schedule, you had to go rewind back to 4 years ago, back in 2016, where they actually did a split in that division, where they went 2-2, only losing to the Eagles and the Cowboys that year. And I got to tell you right there, I mean, that was an interesting season right there. And I remember 2016 looking at that. They put themselves in a real big position where they had to go on a win streak. It was right around the time when they lost the 5th game to the Dallas Cowboys. And pretty much they were able to finish out the season 11-5 and win their first 2 playoff games. They had to go all 4 rounds, unfortunately, but then they ended up losing to the Patriots in New England for the AFC Championship game. As we are looking at it right now. If you guys want to leave me any comments, feel free to comment on the video. If you guys want to find the Men of Steel Facebook page, it is Men of Steel Podcast. Once you hit the like button, you can either just search Men of Steel Podcast or at Men of Steel Nation here. As we are just getting started right here, we are going over the season schedule. Now let's get ready to break down the wins and losses of the Steelers 2020 schedule. And like I said, it's going to be real interesting. Definitely debatable right now. Definitely incumbent on the health of Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, when you look at everything for the Steelers' schedule. So let's begin with the very first game of the season against rookie head coach Joe Judge, who's going to be coaching the New York Giants. That's going to be in MetLife Stadium, by the way. And the Steelers overall playing in MetLife Stadium, I mean, this year, I mean, going into that, they have not lost a game in there since they played their own game in there back in 2012. But as far as the overall Steelers road record against the New York Giants in this series here, which, by the way, the Steelers trail the all-time series to the Giants. Lifetime was in the regular season and no playoffs, 30-44. They're 14 games under 500. And when visiting East Rutherford, New Jersey. Altogether, they're 16-22, six games under 500. But you're going to be going against second-year quarterback Jones here. And I got to believe that's got to be a safe victory right there. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of people are used to, like, trap games later on in the season. But then again, too, I mean, you look at, like, 4 years ago when they opened up their season, they opened up on the road against the NFC East opponent, being the Redskins. I will definitely say I think you could definitely put the money on the Steelers in this first game. Take care of business, get the first win out of the way. Definitely have them go to 1-0 to start things off right there. Definitely see the Steelers getting I'll probably say 3 sacks to start off that game against Jones right there, especially going against an inexperienced head coach in the NFL and Judge right there, and try and welcome this guy here. I just feel like right now you got to definitely – I mean, they do pretty good against rookie quarterbacks as a defensive unit. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the first victory of that year. Coming up, they're back-to-back home games against the Broncos and the Texans. And now as far as with the Broncos, overall the Steelers, when we look at them going into this game at home, so they trail the series by 9 games. It's 11-20-1 against the Broncos, which includes a 3-5 playoff record. So at home, the Steelers are just a game under 500. They got a chance to go 500 at home against Denver. See how that works out. They're usually been doing pretty good in their home openers, I mean, throughout the seasons. I mean, with the exception of last year, I mean, when you really think about how the Steelers have been doing as far as in their home openers with everything, I mean, you have to go back as far, but let's see. I mean, the last time they lost a home opener, aside from that, I mean, they've been doing pretty good. I probably have to go back as far as maybe like 2002, I would say. I mean, they're usually doing pretty well, like playing games at home, and usually seem to play with a lot of emotion. Usually have a good stride right there. So for their next game, when you go up against Vic Fangio, who's going to be in the second year as head coach against the Pittsburgh Steelers right there, and you look at everything right there, I'm going to go ahead and give the Steelers a win in this game. I just feel like they're going to feed off the energy. They're not going to be in Broncos Stadium where they'll be having, like the atmosphere and stuff. They'll be in Pittsburgh. They'll be in front of their home fans. And I just got to believe the quarterback play has got to be the big difference in this ball game. And right there, I mean, we'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and give the Steelers in this one. I'm going to go ahead and give them a victory in this game. Next up, right after that, an interesting one here. You got to go against a playoff team in Houston, Texans. And so far, the Steelers, for this season, they will be playing. They will be playing all together this season 5 playoff teams, with that being the Texans, Titans, Eagles, Ravens, and, of course, the Bills. They're going to be playing 5 playoff teams this year. So against the Houston Texans right there, I'm going to go ahead and give them another victory right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put them at 3-0 to start off the season. I just feel like right now the Texans, they're going through a transition right there. They're going through some frustrations, especially when you don't have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins right there. I mean, any less weapon you could have like to your advantage right there. I do got to believe the Steelers right there have got to be feeding off that. They're going to take advantage. They're going to spot that out, and they're going to find a way to capitalize and expose the Texans a little bit more in this contest here. I just feel the Texans right now, this is a team right now with Bill O'Brien, who I think is just got to be saying the right things, be having the job at this point. I mean, despite being tested with some of his players, obviously he's had some players right now kind of bail on him. It's been a little bit of turmoil there in Houston. But at the end of the day, I mean, his team still finds a way to be in playoff contention. Unfortunately, they haven't been getting as far as to like the AFC Championship game ever in their history of their franchise. That's something they're trying to look to correct. But at the same time, they always find a way, I think, to give teams some fits. But at the same time, traditionally when it comes to like a Steelers, Texas team, especially at home, especially Houston, I'll go ahead and give the Steelers the nod on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and give them 3-0. Their first loss of the year, unfortunately, I will have to say will be against the Titans. That will probably be their first loss this season. You got Ryan Tannehill right there. I mean, the quarterback. You also got to deal with a decent running back in that game as everything looks out. But I just feel like with the Steelers right now, I mean, with everything that has been going on, I mean, throughout this year, I mean, look at like the running back that the Titans have had. I mean, Derrick Henry, a guy who amassed for 1,540 yards and pretty much had like about 1,746 yards with 18 touchdowns total. I mean, 16 rushing and 2 reception touchdowns for that year. I mean, that's going to be an interesting task to try and find a way to slow him down for this time. And we'll see. So I got to believe right there. I mean, that's going to be a trap. I think that's going to be one of their first trap games. Usually on the road when playing the Titans lifetime. And the Steelers do have the all-time series lead at 46-32. But on the road, when it comes to visiting Houston or Tennessee, they're just only a game under 500. Favorable, I think this will be one of their flop games for whatever reason. So I'm going to go ahead, I mean, like I said, for like the first month of December when you open up against the Giants, and then you have your back-to-back home games against the Broncos and the Texans. I'm going to go ahead and give them a perfect 3-0, but they're going to have their first loss of the season going up against the Titans. Up next, what we got coming up over here, going up against Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles, which should be an interesting little rematch, this time in the Bird in Pittsburgh. Steelers, no doubt, obviously have struggled mightily against the Eagles all time. I mean, with an embarrassing 28-48-3 record, which is Eagles do lead all time. And they pretty much murdered the Steelers when coming over to Philadelphia. There are 19 games under 500. But career-wise, when you look at home record, the Steelers are only a game under 500. Just kind of like how they are a game under 500 when playing on the road in the history of the Titans, where it's the Titans or those old Houston Oilers teams. So, I mean, the Steelers, I mean, one would say, I mean, the logic here is like when it comes back to their territory being back in Pittsburgh, they find a way to get things done, take care of business, and find a way to get the W. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the win in this game, only because they're at home right there. Don't get me wrong, Doug Pearson is a phenomenal coach, but I definitely feel right now the Steelers, they can match up with anybody. They usually do good against playing good against good winning teams, especially, I mean, all-time winning records. I mean, Mike Tomlin is definitely phenomenal in that regard. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Steelers a nod. So that will bring them to 4-1 for the season. If you guys want to agree or disagree, my predictions so far in the season, we're going into the 2020 season. I got them starting off 3-1 against the Giants, Broncos, Texans, losing their first game to the Titans, and having their fourth game come against the Eagles. If you guys want to, feel free to send me your feedback at the conclusion of this video or leave me a comment in the YouTube video that is streaming live right now. Feel free. That is Men of Steel Podcast. As we are going over the 2020 season that was released last week officially. I think it was like around that weekend. But anyway, I got them at 4-1, so just stay with me. And then here comes one of the nice little interesting rematches too. But at home in Pittsburgh, not in Cleveland, you're going to be having, at this point, your sixth game of the season. No, excuse me, your seventh game of the season against the Browns. Of course, a lot of people are going to be remembering, but that's going to be more so in Cleveland, more so. But the blow up with Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett, I mean, having the racial slur being thrown about a week or two later after everything has went down. And you got to believe right there, there's going to be a lot of, like, bad blood between these two teams right here, considering everything. And the Browns, who were trying to be one of the up-and-come-ups for the first time in a long time in the history of that Browns franchise. I mean, the Steelers have done a phenomenal job ever since coming over to the AFC with Cleveland. I mean, since Chuck Noll days. I mean, once you tried going up against everything, and the Steelers right there have pretty much owned them ever since. I mean, this is a team right now who, when you look at the Browns right now, trying to make a statement, trying to make a splash, especially when you got Baker Mayfield right there, who's actually be going into the third year of his contract. So you got to believe there's got to be a little bit of pressure starting to mount on him little by little. I'm not saying that the Browns ain't going to lock him up, take care of his fifth-year deal, but at the same time, too, I got to believe right now, this has got to be Baker Mayfield's year right now for the Browns to really take a big step forward for that franchise. I mean, listen, I mean, if you really want to start making some, turning some heads, they can't be, they're a team who wants blood, and they are going to be on a mission line to sweep the Steelers for the first time in a long while. And I just feel right now, when you look at the Steelers and everything, what they've done, I mean, with the Browns overall, I mean, the Steelers have in this advantage 76-59-1 all time. At home, when hosting the Browns, they are 28 games over 500 at 489-21. So you got a lot of stuff to look into here as everything goes on. Definitely know the history and the tradition of these two franchises, a classic rivalry, nonetheless here. And just trying to look right now as we speak. Last time the Browns have ever swept the Steelers in a season, as we look at here, and just trying to figure out what they need to do as far as overall everything. But I mean, the Steelers, I mean, this is going to be an interesting take here. No doubt about it. And the last time the Browns have swept the Steelers, you have to go back as far as 1988. So 32 years in the making. 32 years. 1988 season. Which is another year where the Steelers did not make the playoffs. I mean, this is towards the end of getting close near the end of Chuck Noll's run as the emperor of the Steelers. So, and you look at Mike Tomlin, especially his record going up. I mean, against the Browns. I mean, he's definitely been real solid in that regard. But I'm gonna go ahead and give the Steelers the victory in this one. Simply, quarterback play makes the big ultimate difference. I think Ben Roethlisberger has got to be a little bit more ready. But again, I mean, it's one thing to be practicing right now with teammates. This is another thing when he has to start taking hits. You better believe Myles Garrett will be keying in on Ben Roethlisberger, knocking him down. Not trying to hurt the guy, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, trying to take away a key element of this team right there. And like I said, you got to believe for the first time in a long time, the Browns want blood. They're not the same old laughable Browns anymore. We shall see this season. I get they try and steal headlines, make some bold moves in the season and everything. And I just got to believe right now the Steelers have got to be hell-bent on trying to wipe away that ugly loss they had on Thursday night. So I give them their fifth win. No, excuse me. So when we look at it right now, as we look at the Steelers' season schedule, like I said, I got them winning 3 out of their first 4 games. Winning against the Eagles, I'll give them their 6th win here of the season against the Browns. So give me 6-1. Then a week later after that, when you look at it, for all that's going on here, in this year, in this contest here, and so excuse me, that'll be their 5th win. So I'll give them their 2nd loss on the road in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. This always seems to be a house of horrors for the Steelers for some reason. Haven't done fairly well against the Ravens when traveling there. But the Steelers on the road, lifetime against the Ravens in Baltimore, you got 11-13 record overall. And when you look at it, I mean, since like the 20th century here, for that matter, I mean, it's definitely a lot right now. So 8-12 overall, I want to say, since this century, since this millennium. So I gotta believe right here the Ravens are gonna find a way to take care of stuff here, and we'll see how that goes. But I definitely feel right now the Steelers right now. I mean, this is one of the teams they struggle against. Where without Lamar Jackson, listen, they got a real good stacked team, and I gotta believe a Super Bowl team here. And the Ravens usually do good, take care of business. It's not like the Steelers are going over to like a team where they last won there like 2 years ago, where you had a coach, John Harbaugh, there was a little bit of doubt if they were going to extend him or not, which they actually did towards the end of the 2018 season. But at the same time, that was the final year you saw Joe Flacco being the star quarterback for that franchise. Once they brought in Lamar Jackson, it's been they've been riding a nice little ride ever since. They've been riding him back-to-back playoff years under each year that he has been a starter. And you cannot deny what this guy has brought. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Steelers their second loss of the season right here. As if you guys are keeping score with me right now, I'm having the Steelers at 5-2 right here at this point through excuse me. Yeah, 5-2 for their first 7 games. So then you're going to have your bye week here. Then going up, you're going to be on the road in Dallas against the Cowboys. That's going to be a late afternoon game. Last time the Steelers had won on the road against Dallas in AT&T Stadium, you had to go all the way back. You had to look back to 2004, Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year, the same year that the Steelers went 15-1. I do got to believe the Steelers, they do owe the Cowboys one, and I think it's been a long time since they have been trying to get a victory down there. I got to believe right here the Steelers, it's going to be a year where they're going to have a better record against the NFC East for some reason. I'm going to go ahead and give them the Steelers one of their upset wins of the year. They're 5-9 lifetime. Some things that got to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and make them go a 6-9 lifetime in Dallas, and that'll give the Steelers their 6th win of the year. They will be at 6-2. They'll be 6-2 at this point. Then the following week, against the Bengals in Pittsburgh, rookie quarterback Joe Burrow. Easy give me the Steelers win in this game. They'll go ahead and take care of business. They'll send the message to him. The following week right there, so that will bring them to 7-2. Next week against Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to probably go ahead and give them one of their losses here. I'm going to go ahead and put them at 7-3 right here. They usually don't do well in Jacksonville for whatever reason. And then we're going to go at Thanksgiving at home in Pittsburgh against the Ravens. The Steelers will split a game against the Ravens this year. They're not going to get swept again, I don't think. They're going to take care of business at home. They're going to win a happy Thanksgiving here, which is going to bring their record to 8-3 at this point. Then their last game against the NFC East, I'll give them 9-3 against the Redskins. That game will be on Fox. So as we look at it right now, so that'd be 9-3 at this point. On the road against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, give me the win in there. I think the Steelers will edge that one out. They'll bring them to 10-3. And then I think at home against the Colts, they're going to give up a game right there. They'll be at 10. they're going to win that game. No, excuse me, against the Bengals. Excuse me. I think right there they're gonna split that game. I think your 10-game regular season win streak over the Bengals, 11 games total. Since the Steelers have last lost against the Bengals in 2015, the last time they lost in Cincinnati, you have to go back as far as 2013 on the Monday night game. I think the Steelers do get tripped up along the way here as we look at it. That'll be their 4th loss of the season. And then they'll close out against the Colts and the Browns. They'll probably lose this game to the Colts. They'll get tripped up. And then no, excuse me. They'll win this game against the Colts, and then they'll probably lose the last game of the season against the Browns, but enough to get a playoff spot. So I'm going to have them at 11-5 this year, no higher. So give me the minimum to start at 9-7 for the season, no higher than an 11-5 finish altogether for the season. They get into the playoffs. I'm not so sure if they win the AFC North this year, but they do find a way to get one of those extra wild cards this year. Remember, it's going to be going from 12 to 14 here in 2020. So that should definitely benefit the Steelers right there as far as like being a team who has been on a playoff drought right here once again for 2 straight years. Will this finally – and I'm going to actually, as a matter of fact, I'm going to change that. So for fair or foul, we're going to have 2 topics here. Fair or foul topic number 1. The Steelers will avoid missing the playoffs for 3 straight years. Last time that has happened where they've missed the playoffs, 1998 for 2000. The Steelers, once again, on Mike Tomlin, avoid a 3-year playoff drought. Fair or foul? I hear you guys on this one. I will say fair. I just definitely feel like a lot is on the line right now for Tomlin. I definitely feel like he's definitely getting the message. As Kevin Colton said at the end of the last year closeout of the season of 2019, no more 8-8s. And you look at the schedule right here, it looks very doable. But at the same time, too, I mean, it's been a lot of expectations. You got a special defensive unit. As Ed Bouchette has pointed out, too, there have been 5 out of 7 seasons who actually produced 4 consecutive sack years of 50 sacks or more. Steelers right now, in the history of their franchise, including the Blitzburg eras under Bill Cowher, who've had seasons of 50 sacks or more, they have not had 3 straight seasons of 50 sacks or more. This is the first time ever that this is happening right here. So do you guys believe right there the Steelers will join company, make history, go 4 straight years of having 50 sacks or more? I'm going to say fair on that one. I don't think they run out of gas. I think this is a unit that's hell-bent on definitely getting more hotter as the seasons go on. And I think that's how it's going to be. So that's going to do it, and that's going to wrap it to a close for this edition here of the Man of Steel podcast. I just want to say thank you to those of you who took the time to tune in. Once again, you guys could always catch me here every Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And then you could also check me out on my social media, on Twitter and Instagram, at Prodigy Richey, at OnDeckCSR. For the Men of Steel podcast, for Twitter, it is at Men of Steel CJR, at Men of Steel Nation for Instagram. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. And then also for all the latest Men of Steel podcasts, and also do a show on Saturdays on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com called On Deck with me and my co-host, DJ Coleman, a.k.a. Reese the Ruler. That's On Deck every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. So for Charles, Prodigy Richey here on the Men of Steel podcast signing off. Don't be trolling, be rolling. We gone.